All right, so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to save 100K a year on payroll and multiply your profit with remote A players within 20 days. For those of you that don't know, my name is Benjamin Morone. I'm the founder of Zabota, and for the last 2 years, we've been staffing talent from around the world into growing and successful US-based companies. We have 24 different testimonials and case studies. You can see Lyft Media saving over 40 grand by hiring from Poland, Valuetainment, Patrick David saving almost 60,000 with an executive assistant hire, PR agency based out of LA, saving 6 figures by hiring 4 remote workers, an Inc. 5000 tech company, saving a whopping 300 grand with remote talent, leading digital health platform, saving another 6 figures, Wellcopy, an e-commerce email marketing agency, saving about 63 grand by hiring from Europe. Sales Momentum, saving 45K, cannabis marketing firm, saving 66, Ops King, saving 72 with the no-code developer hire. Let's first start off by talking about the trends that businesses are facing today. First, there's the remote work. It's no secret that remote work has been on the rise since COVID-19. The number of remote workers continues to increase and shows no signs of slowing. If you don't offer remote opportunities, your jobs are less attractive in the labor marketplace. Companies will need to continually adapt their roles to the new reality of the workplace. Here's a little statistic graph. You can see the rise of remote work 2020 to 2023. Inflation is causing a cash crunch. Your money just doesn't go as far as it used to. You're left with the options of maximizing profit and or raising prices. If you raise your prices or open a new revenue stream, there's a key that your customers will continue to buy at that new price. It's a very risky option. Instead, if you focus on cost-cutting activities, you have a greater chance of affecting your bottom line positively without taking significant risks. The third trend right now is cost-effective hiring. Smart companies are looking globally in terms of talent. Other countries are offering similar performance and millions of dollars in cost savings. A Stanford study below showcases how hiring from Poland saved 40%, almost $5 million, without compromising quality of output. When you look at the cost before the reorganization, it was about 12.3 million. After reorganization, it is 7.4 million. 40% in cost savings, almost $5 million in savings. Bay Area headcount swapped to Poland. You're going to see that output is within a 2% difference. You may be wondering who this video is for. If you own a company that makes over 25K a month and you want to build a business that actually reaches your goals, lower your payroll expenses by 50%, attract talent that wows your clients and makes your competitors envy you, this is for you. If you hate burning money and you're trying to build an actually profitable company that doesn't need you 24/7, this is for you. You're currently spending an ungodly amount of time working inside of your business in the day-to-day, and you're struggling to justify hiring more help even though you need it inside of your business. You suspect there's an easier way to scale your business, and you suspect that growing a business doesn't need to be so painstaking. Here's the truth. You can achieve a wildly successful and profitable business using remote talent. However, most entrepreneurs struggle with finding verified A-player level talent that actually has the skills to grow their business. In this video, I will cover the main problems most businesses face when trying to hire and how it leads to business-killing problems like employee churn, skyrocketing costs, and entrepreneurial burnout. You may be wondering who's this guy speaking to me on this video. My name is Benjamin Morone. I'm the founder of Zabota, and after several years in sales, I created Zabota to help small businesses and startups hire remotely. In the last several years, we've saved our clients over $2 million in annual payroll. Featured publications, you can read some more articles. These will be linked down below, and there's about 10 plus different podcasts that will also be linked. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of everything, how you can avoid all of the above problems and how your business can save 100K a year on payroll and multiply your profit. There's really just 4 easy steps for this. First is sourcing talent from strategic locations. Next is expert interviewing. Third is custom skill testing. And fourth is bulletproof onboarding. This is going to lead you to saving hundreds of thousands a year and multiplying your profit. In order to talk about sourcing talent from strategic locations, we need to have a little bit of a background and rewind to 2007. In the realm of small business and startups, hiring from other countries wasn't mainstream until an entrepreneur by the name of Tim Ferriss released a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. If you haven't read it, the main concept is finding ways to minimize your workload significantly while still hitting your profit and revenue goals. One of the ways that Tim suggests that people can do this is by hiring a virtual assistant from the Philippines or India. After the book was published, the masses ran to websites and online marketplaces to find the absolute cheapest virtual assistants they could find. For the next few years, using Southeast Asia for laborious tasks was all the rage. But like anything, when the masses get a hold of a new method, it gets burnt out and the returns diminish. This is part of the reason that every few years there's a new lead gen method, and the gurus vomit this onto the internet. It may be LinkedIn automation, maybe it's cold email, maybe it's short form content, 90 pieces of content for only 2 weeks of your time. Like all these types of offers get burnt out eventually. To be successful with hiring, you should not double down and try to find the best talent in these locations. And after all, a $500 a month VA is not going to be able to grow your business. Instead, you should source high quality talent from strategic locations. Well, what is a strategic location? A strategic location is a talent pool where all of the following are true. Talent is cheaper than the surrounding countries. Taxes are favorable for the talent. English level is higher than surrounding countries. And time zones are favorable. Here's a little bit of an explanation on A. Talent is cheaper than the surrounding countries. We want to find locations where the talent is economically attractive for us to hire from. If we're going to pay $5,000 a month for an in-person employee and $5,000 a month for a remote employee in a foreign country, it doesn't quite make sense to hire out of country. But if the remote employee is $2,000 a month and is the same quality or better than the in-person employee, then you should hire that remote employee every single time. Here's an explanation on part B. Taxes are favorable for the talent. One of the nice things about running a company in the States is when we hire talent as independent contractors in a foreign country, we don't need to deal with special taxation and complicated accounting on our end in the States. The independent contractor is responsible for taxes and laws in their own jurisdiction or locale. That being said, we need to focus on what do taxes look like for the country that we're hiring from. For example, if you want to hire an independent contractor in Germany, the contractor is going to pay 15% to 45% in taxes, depending on how they're set up and structured. If your suggested wages do not allow for this extra expense, it's a lot harder to get competitive wages and attract talent. Instead, if you hire a similarly skilled contractor from Montenegro, the contractor is only going to be paying 9 to 15% tax, making it much easier to attract competent talent at an attractive rate. Not to mention the 50% cheaper cost of living in Montenegro. It's going to be a golden country to be looking for this type of talent. It has the strategic criteria where the taxes are favorable for the talent. This next explanation is quite obvious. The English level needs to be higher than the surrounding countries. We need to hire from places where there's strong education background and strong English level. Looking for talent in a place with poor English will make it 10 times harder to find the right type of person that we need for the role that we are trying to fill. If we look at the level of English in various EU countries, surprisingly, places like Spain, Italy, and France have some of the worst English proficiency levels in the entire EU. It's much better to focus hiring efforts on countries that are further up the list. It doesn't matter how talented someone is, if they can't speak your language, they're just not going to be a fit in your company. Here's an explanation on part D. Time zones are favorable. The workflow and hours of operations for your company will determine what countries are viable options to hire from. There are 4 separate time zones in Europe. Even just being a few extra hours can affect day-to-day operations and the length that that independent contractor stays working at your company. Very few individuals want to work until 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and if they do, they're going to request significantly higher compensation. If your company is based in Pacific time or Mountain time, it can be more advantageous to hire from Latin America, where your new team members can just be 1 or 2 hours ahead or even in the exact same time zone. This time zone section is really going to depend on what type of company you're trying to create and the specific needs of the role. A lot of times we see developers, IT roles, often in Central and Eastern Europe, while the rest of the team is located in these states. This works quite well. Other times, if you're hiring an executive assistant or a sales rep, it's better to have them in Latin America so they can be on those exact same time zones and can minimize any type of time zone confusion. The next step after locating the strategic locations to hire from is the interviewing of talent and the setup of the recruitment process. Usually businesses and founders just round up some candidates, throw together a rough interview timeline that looks something like this. A job description with a gotcha or Loom video, Then 2 to 3 days after reviewing the candidates, they hop on a first interview via phone or Zoom. 3 to 5 days, then there's a second interview with that same founder and or the leadership team. 3 to 5 days, there's a skill, technical test, interview, and then there's a decision or offer to the candidate. This can take 18 days, 21 days. This is 3 weeks of time. What are some of the problems with this recruitment process? A lot of different business owners use this recruitment process. Well, it takes almost 3 weeks for the candidate to go through the entire process if they're lucky enough to even make it to the end. The only candidates that have this long to wait around for a job are the ones that are simply just not that good. If you're truly talented, they have many opportunities that they are evaluating. They're not just sitting around waiting for someone to invite them to a job interview. They're surveying the opportunities. They're looking and choosing what works best for them to achieve their goals. Second problem with this recruitment process is business owners are trying to make their interview process tricky, and they're confusing trick questions and gimmicks as a thorough and effective interviewing process. Real talent will see through this process and withdraw from the interview process or not even apply. It's better to be effective than trying to just appear clever. A far more effective process for interviewing is the following: a job description without buzzwords, within 48 hours, setting up that first interview, setting up those next steps during that interview so they know exactly what's going to happen in this recruitment process, within another 48 hours, a skill test or technical test, then within 72 hours, a second interview / technical interview, and then within another 72 hours, feedback or an offer to the candidate. This is 10 days or less. You can do this very, very quickly, and you're not skipping any of these steps up here. It's much more efficient. Candidates like it a lot better, and you're going to get that desired result a lot sooner and a lot faster. Let's talk about the first section here, a job description without buzzwords. Again, why be clever when you can be effective? Candidates are blind to words like wizard, guru, dynamic, synergy, playmaker. Your job description is just going to be another in the sea of clones. Candidates are more willing to take action on applying to a role if they can see clear next steps in the interview process. If possible, add the interview process outline to the job description so candidates know exactly what they're getting into. Within 48 hours, preferably sooner, set interviews with candidates who have applied to your job or have been sourced from these strategic locations manually. This first interview will act more like a screening call than an in-depth interview. This interview should be more about their experience and mindset instead of making it all about the job. At first, this seems almost counterintuitive, but the problem is that if you spend all your time speaking about the job first before talking about their experience, they're going to try to mold their experience to fit what they think you want with this job. So it's better to ask them more about their experience, mention the job kind of briefly, and then get the true, authentic experience that they're giving and talking about versus them trying to force a fit and trying to tell you what they think that you want to hear. After finishing this first interview, immediately send the test task or set the next technical interview date. Give them about 24 hours if you're going to reject them. Don't just instantly reject them, but you can schedule that out in advance. You want to move quickly and efficiently through this whole process. The next step in this interview or recruitment process is the skill testing. It's an area that's heavily overcomplicated. Founders throw it together before first interviews, before second interviews, right before extending an offer. They kind of just throw it all around all over the place. There's not a set method for it. Candidates have zero incentive to do work or a test task if you won't even give them 15 minutes of your time. If they're good enough for a test task, they're good enough for a quick screening interview like the one above. Other companies such as Apple or SpaceX are able to require tests and technical interviews up front in a different order due to their brand name, but smaller startups and smaller businesses do not have that luxury. Many times, startups are not fully thinking through their test task. They throw something together that comes from ChatGPT and hope it's enough of a barrier against bad candidates and it's thorough enough to reveal the true talent someone has. The proper way to assign a test task is after you have the initial screening meeting and before the second or technical interview. This ensures that a high number of candidates that you offer the test task will actually complete that test task. Another method that helps with completion rates is compensation. Now, the compensation doesn't need to be incredibly high. The compensation should reflect the hourly rate of the role and the estimated time it would take to complete said test task. Reason being is a true top-notch candidate who already has a job needs to be incentivized more in order to take action. They're not coming from a desperate, unemployed job search mindset. Their bills are paid, they're happy, and so this allows them to be more picky with the opportunities that they pursue. When it comes to the contents of that test task, it should mirror the actual responsibilities of the role. Don't get something random off of ChatGPT or ask your founder friend or small business friend what they use for a test task for their role. Instead, you need to make it mirror what would happen in the first 30 days of that role. There's no reason to have them doing tasks that they're not even actually going to do. You need to figure out, are they going to be actually good at the tasks that you're assigning them when they're live and actually inside of the role. If you're hiring a sales rep who will be responsible for creating outbound messaging campaigns and identifying ICPs, then the test task can be to create 4 message campaign and to research 5 to 10 ICPs. Jumping into the second round interview section, small business owners or founders often make big mistakes during these second round interviews that can hurt their hiring choices. One common mistake is not asking deep enough questions about the candidate's past experiences, leading to a lack of understanding about the candidate's abilities. If business owners are using the old recruitment process where they're taking a lot of time, almost 18, 21 days to get through their entire recruitment process, they're not following up, they're not giving helpful feedback and clear communication, it's going to eliminate the chances of hiring great talent. To avoid this whole issue, follow a set structure and use the opportunity of that second round interview to let the candidate know more about what their first 30 to 45 days would look like in the company, along with company growth opportunities and plans. People who are high performing want growth opportunities. They don't want a role where they come in and they get paid a set wage and they just do the task each day. They don't want to work on an assembly line in a factory. They want to be able to run a team. They want growth opportunities. They're not coming just to have a job. They're trying to build a career. The second round interview is where you're going to do a lot more digging into the mindset, the resume, relevant skills. Again, don't just find something off of ChatGPT. Actually take the time to properly format a series of questions that will give you insights to the behavior and the mind of the candidate. This feedback or decision step is one of the final steps in the recruitment process where many of these founders and business owners drop the ball. They take 5+ business days to make a decision, kind of just waiting for that perfect candidate to hopefully get through that recruitment process, looking at the list of candidates and being like, okay, this is kind of the best we have. Who should we hire? They mull it over with 9 different people, trying to make a decision. And during that time, all of the best candidates already get swooped up by other companies. You can't afford to take a ton of time when wanting to make a hire for your business. The best people have tons of offers. They have tons of opportunities. You can't just meet them, have them go through the skill test, 5 days later, follow up with them and make them an offer. 9 times out of 10, that person's no longer going to be available. If you actually want rock stars to join your company, you can't allow for all of your hard work during this recruitment process to just be undone by slow communication in those final stages. It's like doing all of the work, all the hard work of finding the candidates, interviewing, skill testing, meeting with them several times, just for in the last 10% of the process to let all of that work go to waste. The companies that are truly successful when attracting great talent move quickly when navigating the final stages of decision making. They understand that true talent has tons of potential offers on the table, and waiting 1 extra day to make a decision can lose them candidates, sending them all the way back to square one. The final step in this recruitment process is bulletproof onboarding. There's a misunderstanding among ambitious business owners where they think that just because someone has experience in the said position that they're hiring for, that the candidate will have complete knowledge of the business owner's business and operations on day 1. Founders will just throw together a slideshow about the company and tell the talent that they are just available in Slack if they have any questions. 30 days later, the talent will be frustrated and they don't have clear metrics to hit. And the founder will feel like they've just wasted money hiring someone. They're going to look at that person as an expense instead of someone to invest into and build up to take control of that role. No matter how talented someone is, they're not going to have context of your company and knowledge and what is expected of them on day 1 if they do not have a complete onboarding experience. According to the Harvard Business Review, organizations with a standardized onboarding process experience 62% greater new hire productivity, along with 50% greater new hire retention. Successful businesses understand that new hire onboarding makes or breaks the effectiveness of the new hire. An onboarding process isn't just a single meeting with the founder. It's everything that happens in the first 30+ days of the new hire's tenure. If you've been around the online business world for quite a while, you may be familiar with Layla Hormozi and Alex Hormozi. They have an $85 million plus business portfolio. According to them, there should be 2 onboardings. The first being a company contextual onboarding, where you go over the company's mission, vision, core values and culture, hiring and firing practices, managing expectations, annual and quarterly goals, key leaders, decision makers, celebration and improvement practices, philosophies around pay and benefits. All this information can be covered up in a slideshow presentation that can continually be updated as that company grows. If you have less than a 20 or 30 headcount, that founder or chief executive can conduct these company contextual onboardings. They need to have context into how the company is running to be successful. As your company grows, these first initial hires will become leaders within the company. So it's important to have a strong relationship with them. If your organization is much larger, let's say 50 plus headcount, 200 plus headcount, that HR department can run the company contextual onboarding, but that slideshow needs to have input from that CEO or founder to actually give weight to the words and the items that are being recited on that slideshow. If it's just Karen from HR who has made this slideshow, that new hire is going to check out. There's not as much authority in that. But if it's coming from the founder, the CEO, there's authority. And when you talk about the mission, vision, and all of the values listed above. The second onboarding is the role-specific onboarding. It's going to include the job description and department expectations, the KPIs, the key performance indicators that are tracked, systems and technologies used, meeting schedules and cadences, tools and methods for achieving KPIs, getting access to the systems. This is something that a lot of times what happens is business owners just skip this first contextual onboarding, right? And they just jump into, okay, here's kind of what's expected of you. These are the technologies. Let's get you the logins. We'll get you a spot on HubSpot, make sure that everything's going okay. When they realize this person doesn't actually know anything about their company. This is why you need that company contextual onboarding first. This person's supposed to be a member of your team, except they don't even know what color of the jersey that the team's supposed to wear, right? So you need to split this up into two things to make a bulletproof onboarding process. Here's the summary and next steps. The secret to saving $100K a year on payroll and multiplying your profit is sourcing talent from strategic locations, expertly interviewing said talent, custom skill testing the talent, and onboarding them correctly. If you've read this far, you probably have the perspicacity to complete this process on your own through trial and error. The only problem is this do-it-yourself process will be exponentially longer and tedious than working with the experts who've perfected this process. Instead of dealing with the complexity of the unknown, you can partner with us and get guaranteed results. Again, here are the 24 plus testimonials and case studies. You can go to zabota.io, case-studies, Lyft Media, Valuetainment, AK Infinite, Inc. 5000 Tech Companies, Digital Health SaaS, and WellCopy, saving hundreds of thousands of dollars hiring from strategic locations. Sales Momentum, saving almost 50K with an executive assistant. Cannabis marketing firm, saving 66 grand with multiple hires. And Ops King, saving 72K with a no-code developer hire. So what does partnering with us look like? You will understand the exact role that you need to hire for. You will know the exact locations where this role is abundant, and you will receive candidates who are eager for the chance to work with you and your company. You're going to save 50 to 70% on payroll annually. Your entire recruitment process for new talent will be hands-off and automated, allowing you to actually focus on growing your business. You will actually be able to reach the goals faster because of the extra capital that you're saving each month, and you'll be able to build a team that can run your business, allowing you to be able to take a vacation. What are some of the frequently asked questions that we get? What roles can you hire for? We hire all types of roles outside of the C-suite and commission-only sales reps. What parts of the hiring process do we handle? We handle the sourcing, the vetting, the interviewing of the candidates, and the skill testing, delivering you 3 to 5 ideal candidates to bring to second round interviews with your team. Where is the talent located? We've hired from over 15 plus countries worldwide, primarily in Central and Eastern Europe and Latin America. How do you integrate with our internal hiring team? If you're a larger company, don't worry. Our team has experience communicating with multiple decision makers and internal hiring managers. How do I pay the remote talent? After using pretty much every method underneath the sun, we've narrowed it down to the easiest and most secure. Deal, Payoneer, Wise, Revolut, PayPal, local bank transfer. It really depends on what country the talent is coming from and residing in. How do you ensure security? Having worked with a variety of healthcare, financial, and cybersecurity companies, we understand how important security is. The best medicine is always going to be prevention, preventing bad actors coming into your organization. When hiring for a secure industry, we will take into account prior industry experience and prior Fortune 500 experience. We also offer background checks as well. What happens if the talent quits or needs to be replaced? Our placements come with a 90-day replacement guarantee and additional replacement coverage. They speak English well. Besides skills and culture fit, English competency is one of the top priorities in our vetting process. We prioritize experience working with the US market in C1 and C2, advanced/fluent English fluency. How is the talent different from a virtual assistant? Virtual assistants have their time and place, copy, paste, and basic tasks, but there's truly a limit to their ability. If you're running a business with a considerable ticket size and you need someone to interact with customers via Zoom or phone call, there's a perception of lower value for money and potential damage to your company's reputation when your customer is going to hop on a call with someone based in a third world country. Maybe their English isn't that good. Maybe there's a heavy accent. Your customer is going to feel like, this company really just outsourced and kept all the profit. The talent we are hiring are not $5 an hour workers. They are cost-effective alternatives to complex six-figure roles that would be traditionally hired for in the US. Additionally, they are from developed countries with professional backgrounds and English fluency. How hands-on is your team? From the moment you begin working with us, our team will be there for open communication and collaboration. Expect responses within minutes or 24 hours at the latest. How quickly can we hire talent? From start to finish, starting with us to having your new team members start, it takes about 10 business days. Our team likes to move quickly and effectively. Do I need a job description? If you have one, that's great. Our team will review it and remove any potential buzzwords that would make it unattractive to potential A-player candidates. If you do not have a job description, no worries. Our team will create one at no extra cost to you. Is your firm contingency-based? No, our firm's not contingency-based. And the problem with the contingency model is contingency firms often take on 10, 15 clients at a time, and then they just focus on the lowest hanging fruit. They want to focus on the roles that they for sure or have the highest chance or probability on getting paid. The tougher, more difficult roles, they're not going to give them the time of day because their focus is getting paid since they haven't been paid for any of the work that they're actually doing. This approach sacrifices the quality for quantity. I don't like this approach. What I like to do is if I sign on 5 clients, we get amazing results for all 5 clients. I'd rather have a business where everyone's winning versus a business where I sign on 15 people and 3 or 4 of them win. How is this different from just putting up a job ad? We focus on actively hunting ideal candidates for you. By just putting up a job ad, you're spraying and praying. You're hoping and praying that the right people see it. Our team's going to use active methods to find some of the best candidates, since many times the best candidates are already happily employed. Since we've been hiring talent from strategic locations for several years now, we've had the time to cultivate relationships in these locales and have extensive private network that we also source from as well. Are these new workers employees or contractors? They are remote contractors. What are the tax implications of hiring these independent remote contractors? Now, I'm not an international tax attorney or CPA, so this isn't financial or international tax advice. But due to the nature of these new workers being remote contractors, the tax situation is quite simple. Your accountant may have them fill out a W-8BEN form. This form is basically for your company records and also the independent contractor records. It allows them to verify their status as an independent contractor in their home country and tell their home country that they work remotely for a US entity. Where is your team located? I'm back and forth between the US and Europe, and then various team members are located throughout Central and Eastern Europe. What time zones should I hire from? If you're located in Pacific Time, Mountain Standard, or you need someone to be in your exact same time zone, maybe they're a sales rep or an executive assistant, you should most likely hire from Latin America. If you're located anywhere on the East Coast, in the US, or in Europe, you can hire from anywhere in Europe. If you're interested in saving multiple 6 figures on payroll and multiplying your profit with remote A players, check out our website, the other videos on our YouTube, the case studies down below, and then finally book a call to speak with us down in the description. If you have any questions about hiring remote talent, drop them in the comments below and we'll respond to them quickly. Thanks.